Right. It is Wednesday, the Ides of March, March 15th. We are coming to you from a new location. I feel like where's Waldo sometimes when I do these live events, but for those of you joining us for the first time, thank you. We're very excited. We're also live streaming on Facebook. So for those Facebookers out there that catch us on this on Rewind, we appreciate you watching and we hope you gained something. Sonic Partners is excited to come to you live every month, but this month is especially exciting. It is National Nutrition Month, in case you didn't know. And so we are very excited to be a part of the resources, the tools, the ideas, the innovation that you all have to bring to your students, your communities. And so today I am coming to you from like where it all started for me. I am in the kitchen, which is a new kitchen that's being launched next semester at Case Western Reserve. So for those of you who know me, I graduated with my bachelor's in nutrition from this very institution, and I've been working on a fun project because now I paid a lot of tuition here. Let's just be honest, real. But I'm now getting paid to consult to help them set up this wonderful space because ideally this space will be teaching new professionals how to cook. So you're never too old or on a different track in your life to learn about cooking. And this kitchen will be a beautiful space outfitted for 48 students, both undergrad and my favorite professional students. So medical students, as well as allied health professionals, because we all know that we sometimes get out of the practice of really getting to the root of nutrition and the cooking part. So as always, Sonic is going to bring you, we hope, innovative content from cool spaces. And we hope this will be some place that we're able to do some trainings and support education at all levels. So without further ado, I have a packed agenda today. I'm not going to be talking a lot other than the fact that I feel like at the end of this, we're going to wrap it up with maybe a message that I think personal for us. There's a National Dietitian Day that we just celebrated. So we have a group of dietitians on our team, and we really try to, again, take some village to build the content and support of all of the work we do. And so today I'm really happy to introduce a very dear friend and surprise guest at the end to do a little demo, maybe thinking about things to take you out of a comfort zone, but also think about your personal wellness. We can't be good for others unless we're good for ourselves. And so today we hope to wrap up with a little bit of recipe ideas, not only that might innovate and inspire you for your kitchen in your school buildings, but maybe in your own kitchen. So today is going to be full. So the agenda here is definitely something that you've seen before. For those of you joining us, we will start with an admin roundup. Our keys to KPI series will continue with Tina Hastings. It's that time of year, guys. We're talking about inventory management, using it up well. We want Mother Hubbard's cupboards not to be terribly full throughout the summer months. For those of you who don't serve summer feeding, I know everybody, my favorite, Hudson High School has the countdown calendar to spring break, and then shortly thereafter, the last day of school will be here soon. So we'll talk a little bit about financial goals as it relates to that. As always, menu inspiration. We have March Robeson with us, who will help us gain some new insights for the April, looking forward for fun inspiration, fun themes days, and then caught doing something good is always something we love. If you don't see yourself on the screen, it's because you're not sharing what you're doing good with us, because when you do, it is our pride and joy on both our newsletter as well as this segment to really share out best practices. We say it often, we are not competitive restaurants in school service. And so one of the wonderful things is you're doing something well and we can share with others who then help their schools succeed. So I am just really pleased to be here with you today, and we hope we have a full agenda to give you some insights and some excitement this National Nutrition Month. So I will hand it over to Miss Sarah.
All right, thanks, Maureen. So today we're going to go over just a couple of admin things. So as I have been out and about in buildings, just a quick reminder, I know we've passed the date, but please make sure that you have at least paid for your updated food license for the current year. You may have not received it yet. I know that they're a little behind in most of our surrounding counties actually getting that to you, but just make sure that you have paid for that licensure for the year. Also, just a little kind of sneak peek into what Tina will be talking about in a few minutes. A reminder for inventory when it comes to food safety. Please make sure that you're date marking the items in your inventory so that it makes it easier to keep up on your first in, first out. We want to make sure that the food that we're serving to the kids is safe. I know we haven't had nearly as many out of stocks this year as we had last year, so that has made ordering and inventory a little easier. I think we can all agree to that, but just a quick reminder to make sure that we are date marking all those items, and that anything that has been sitting in inventory a while, that you try to get that on your menu and get it used up. And then we just want to talk to you a little bit. I know we're all very, maybe not so patiently waiting on those additional CSA funds. They are coming. We all know that the government is in no hurry to do anything, but you will get that money. Rest assured, ODE did reassure us of that again this week. The funds are coming. But we just want to give you a couple of ideas. If you are in one of those positions where you are part of a cooperative purchasing, either EPC, APC, or HPS, reach out if you are out of commodity dollars and see if there's anything, particularly DoD funds. If there are any additional funds that you can get, you can email Ashley for HPS clients, and then also Justin Chapman at ODE is more than willing to help schools that are part of a co-op if you need more funds to get you through the rest of the year. And kudos to you if you're in a place that you've already used up all of your commodity dollars for the year. But we just want to give you a great way to be able to save money and properly use your commodity dollars that you've been entitled, or maybe get some extra money. Tina on our team is really great at being able to use those additional commodity funds to help fund her program and keep her solvent. So just a little FYI on that. The comments are open. We want to tell everyone today, and you'll hear this as Gina talks through a little bit more about all of these proposed new guidelines related to sodium and sugar in the upcoming years. The comments are open from the USDA. So if you have very strong feelings, thoughts, opinions, you can share them, but we don't want you to panic. Okay, this isn't happening tomorrow. It's not even happening next school year. It is quite a few years off until all of this would go into play if it is passed. Again, these are recommendations and the comments are open right now. So we would encourage you, it's your right, right? Just like it's your right to vote, it's your right as someone that is working in the USDA program to be able to give constructive feedback to the government on these new proposed regulations. And then if you are getting asked from anybody in your district, regardless of what group it is, teacher, administrator, to share student eligibility now that we're back to free and reduced, you cannot just share that information without getting prior informed consent from parents. So what does that mean? So if you are going to be sharing out that information, there is actually a waiver form that you can download on ODE's website that you need to send home to parents to tell them what information is being shared, to whom, and why. And they have to sign and date that before you would be able to give that information out. And that's for every single student that you would be sharing information. You need a waiver form from their official guardian saying that you can share that information. Even if it's within your district, even if it's a building principal, parents have to give, or guardians have to give prior informed consent before you can share out that information. That is private information that they have only given to food service. Okay, so just a quick reminder, as I know people try to help, we're getting ready to go on spring break and an Easter holiday, and people want to do nice things for people that are in need, which I think is great and is so appreciated. But let's just make sure that we have all the documentation in place and that we have gotten that prior informed consent from our families. Now I'm going to pass it to Gina. Gina got to go to LAC in Washington, D.C., so Legislative Action Committee on behalf of Pasonic Partners. So she's going to share with you a little bit about that.
Hi, everybody. LAC was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. I'm glad I got to go and participate and share in everybody sharing their ideas and meeting the representatives from our state. It was a great experience, and if you have the opportunity, definitely do it if you're able to. Regarding the new guidelines on sodium and the reduced sugar that they're proposing, they are, like Sarah said, over a long period of time. So it's not something that we have to have ready by next month or even by this next school year. The reduced sodium is not until the fall of 20 24, 25, and 26. They're dragging it out so you don't have to worry about it. And if you look at your menus now, you'll see that a lot of you are already meeting most of those guidelines because you have your menus where you are following speed scratch, or you're doing you're doing a lot more fruits and vegetables, and you're using a lot of seasonings that don't contain sodium. So you don't really have to worry about that. If you have questions, we're definitely here to help you. We have a ton of menu items and recipes that we can help you get through all of this. As far as reducing sugar, a lot of you are already using reduced sugar cereals and reduced sugar yogurts and things like that. So again, it's not anything that you really have to panic about because you're already following those guidelines. And remember, we are, again, here to help you with that. For next year's school programs, meal programs, you're not going to really have a lot that is going to change. We're going to slowly ease into those new guidelines. So again, just listen and pay attention to where the representatives are going with all of this, what they have to say about it. The open comment session is open until April 10th. So if you do have concerns or you want to put your thoughts out there, you have until April 10th to do that. And here's on the screen there is the timeline for the changes. And as you can see, they introduced everything now, but we don't have to have all of these done until at the latest fall of 2029. So there is lots of time to make adjustments and look at your menus. And again, we are here to help you, and we will do everything we can to make sure that everybody's there where they need to be. Then there's more information on where you can get proposed rules for the school nutrition from Lunch Assist, April 4th at 1 o'clock. They'll have a session. And on March 23rd at noon, the Food Service Leadership Council will also have a webinar relating to these changes and guidelines. And now with Tina for our KPI.
Maureen, we're having difficulty hearing you. So we still can't hear you, Maureen. Sarah, do you want to run through the KPI slides?
I sure can.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I know I'm probably not as good at this as Tina is, but here we go. We're gonna give it a try. So inventory, like I said before, is really important. There really is nothing that we ask you to do that is not for a reason. So please do not think that anything is just to make you busy and give you things to do. So the importance of knowing these things with your inventory is, first of all, it's going to really help reduce food waste. And who wants to waste food, right? If we look at our grocery budgets year over year, groceries are certainly far more expensive than they've ever been, and those prices just keep creeping up. We want to reduce the time that items stay on the shelves. So as I was saying, to make sure for food safety that we're date marking and rotating for first in, first out, that's also part of it, right? So the faster we move through things, this reduces or / eliminates spoilage, right? So if things aren't sitting on the shelf for a long period of time, then we don't have to worry about them going bad. And truly, if you are getting a Gordon Food Service order every week, you should only have about 7 to 10 days of inventory sitting on your shelf at any one given time. So that's a really good way to think through your inventory. We don't need to stockpile. GFS and the manufacturers have plenty of food for us. So just something to think through as you think through inventory. This is great knowledge for everyone working in the back of the house. It really helps the person doing ordering to know what to order, what do you have and what do you need to make those next 7 to 10 days work well for you. Making sure that you're organized. This is obviously going to save a ton of time, that if all of your pizza products are in one place and all of your chicken is in one place, you can very quickly scan through your inventory, look at your menu, and see what you need to order. It also really helps to aid in unexpected substitutions. Do you already have something on the shelf that you could easily swap out? We had a cooler go down or a freezer in one of my buildings this week, and the manager knows her inventory really well. So first thing Monday morning, she was able to send me what she was serving Monday through Wednesday until the GFS truck came. So it was really easy peasy lemon squeezy to fix up her menu, even though we had that major cooler freezer go down over the weekend. And then it's also really important for your financial knowledge. You need to know your numbers at the end of the year, right? How much inventory are you sitting on? What are the costs of goods sold? These are all questions that your treasurer is likely going to ask you, and it makes it a whole lot easier if you know this. Also makes it easier if there's not a ton of food sitting to be able to figure that out. And then if for whatever reason you would have a loss of inventory, like a cooler or freezer going down, you are able to show your most recent inventory, and that really helps for insurance claims to be able to get that money back. And then if you use GFS Inventory Manager, this gives a really great breakdown of where are your items sitting in your inventory. So again, this is a really great way to, at a glance, see where is the percentage of food sitting and where do I need to really utilize my food and what am I sitting on a ton of. You can also see the snip that Tina took at the bottom here. It gives a storage area summary. So it really does break down and tells you how much breakfast do I have? How much canned fruit am I sitting on? What's sitting in my freezer? Again, important for you to know where all of your money is at. And again, really important way to be able to keep this information if for whatever reason a piece of equipment goes down and you would need to file one of those insurance claims. Guys, it's so important that we keep up on our inventory. Ideally, you're doing a quick inventory every week when you're doing your order, right? So that you can make sure you're ordering accurately for what you need up front on your menu. And then that large monthly inventory that's a once over of every single item in your kitchen that you are accounting for those items. And then maybe you can see, maybe, hey, I have a lot of stuff sitting in the freezer. Let's think about rolling through some of that stuff that's been sitting in there. If you need a creative way to use something that's sitting, please reach out to us. We would love to come up with some creative, fun way that you can serve that to the students as a way to use up your inventory. All right, I will pass it to Marge to give you some menu matters and inspiration.
Thank you. Well, hello, everybody. I always am excited to think about the month ahead and how we can highlight some new items maybe on our menu, or just do some great marketing for some items that we have on our menu. So when we think of April, April 12th is National Grilled Cheese Day. We do have many different grilled cheese recipes in our database that we're always happy to share with anybody. These are just a few I put on here. We always think doing something like a grilled cheese kind of bar concept where students can choose a different type of grilled cheese is great, but maybe even using this day as a day to introduce something other than a traditional grilled cheese would be a great opportunity to celebrate this day. And then we also have in April coming up is Earth Day on April 22nd. So some creative, fun ways to celebrate Earth Day. I love these pudding cups with just some crumbled Oreo or chocolate cookie on the top with the gummy worm, a special treat. Dogo's does have the Earth Day cookies available, and we will put in the recap a link to those if you've not used Dogo's cookies. Of course, those are great. I love the colors on these Earth Day cookies that are, again, natural colors, not artificial coloring. So a great snack. And then this parfait, yogurt parfait with a little shovel in it that actually some use for breakfast, but I think it would be a great thing to use for an Earth Day celebration also. And then people always are wondering, like, what kind of recipes? Share us recipes. We're looking for some new ideas, and we certainly have recipes. Like I said, we're always happy to share with you that we have in our Healthy Meal Planner Pro database. But also don't forget about manufacturers. You know, manufacturers certainly want to have their product be used, and many of them have chefs on staff who are coming up with creative ideas. And I recently saw, you know, these from Red Gold and Tyson, and I thought they were great because they use some common popular flavor profiles, kind of global trend flavors, some Korean barbecue that's there, some Asian. So we, again, will put in our recap links to the Red Gold, the Tyson. Land O'Lakes also always has some great ideas, usually with things just like some of the commodity cheese and cheese sauce that you might be able to use in a different way. So we will definitely share those resources with you. And then we also want to give a warm welcome to Nicole Patton, who is our new GFS education specialist, who has replaced Kathy Zakelli in her accounts. So I think you're on, Nicole. Would you like to click on and say hi to everybody so that we have a nice picture of you, but they can see your face?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, perfect. I have my video on. I don't, maybe, there we go. Hi, my name's Nicole Patton, and I live in the Mansfield, Ohio area. I have a husband and 3 kids, ages 6, 5, and 2, so we're very busy. I've historically been with GFS for about 12 and a half years. I started out in the stores as a cashier, then I moved into a leadership role. Then I transitioned into an IST role, so similar to Todd's. And then I was eventually a K-12 specialist out of the Columbus market. Then COVID hit, and then I moved into healthcare, then decided to take some time off, stay home with the kids, and I did. But here I am back in the game again and excited to meet everyone and work with you. So thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you. We're so glad that you could get on this call, and Assimilating Great is part of our team. So we do have her contact information, and she's been so great to work with. So if you have questions, I know she would certainly welcome you reaching out. So thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
And then, of course, we're always here to help, always put a plug in for our support ticket system, which is simply an email at the support@ppllc.info. That's a great way to just kind of globally reach all of us, but also is used if we manage your menus as a way to put any request in using that support ticket system for what those adjustments you might want us to make on your menu. And then, speaking of menu adjustments, if you haven't heard, I'm telling you now, but hopefully you've heard that Healthy Meal Planner Pro is going to be undergoing some software upgrades, and we are really excited about this. We are scheduled for May for our Pasonic database and any schools that are within our database accounts. So if you're one of our child accounts, I think they're now one of the new changes, you'll be called a client account instead of a child account. But if you're one of those accounts, Healthy Meal Planner Pro is going to be looking a little bit different and having some upgrades in May. And we want to keep you informed about that and prepared, because there are some steps that we'll need to take just to ensure a smooth transition. So I know we sent out a Tech Tip Tuesday. I think that was last Tuesday. If you have not got that or have not looked at it, please look at it or let us know if you have not received that, and work within the Healthy Meal Planner Pro system. There's some links in there for some trainings, and we will continue to share trainings. We've just been given what they call a sandbox account, so that we can kind of go in and start playing around and looking at it, so that we're really, prepared to help guide everybody on that transition. And certainly make sure, if you're a manager, that your staff knows that it's coming. Sometimes just not being aware and showing up one day and things are different can be a little stressful. Even though I think this transition will go smooth, just talk about it so that people know that it's coming. And again, we're here to help with that transition. So I think next is one of our favorite parts, with our Caught Doing Something Good. And I think Gina will take that.
Hello. We just want to say what a great job everybody did participating with the National School Breakfast Week. Everybody had some great ideas and did a lot of fun things, and the kids really enjoyed it. We also have National CACFP Week, which was this week. And here are some pictures of the little kids enjoying cutting up some zucchini, having some fresh apples, and just having fun sitting as a group, eating their little meal together. And here are some pictures from Woodridge Middle School. They did the cute little yogurt dirt cups with the little shovel in there and some Oreo cookie sprinkled on top of that. They did the smoothies with some rainbow crackers in there. And they also were raffling off prizes for kids for participating and joining with breakfast. And there we have one of the happy winners of one of the little purses there. And at JAG Elementary, they celebrated by doing Cinnamon Toast Crunch donuts. And at Garraway Dundee Elementary School, they decorated a whole little construction theme. And here they served the kids as a special item, biscuits and gravy. And at Copley Middle School, they made some homemade cocoa muffin bistro boxes. And at their elementary school, Arrowhead Elementary School, they did banana split parfaits, and those were a big hit, and the kids have been asking when they can have them again. And now we're going to have our special guest, Kathleen Madden, and I'll turn it back over to Maureen.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So, one of the things about a test kitchen and building a new kitchen is figuring out how all of the appliances work. And clearly the audio visual is something that I'm not the specialist in. And I'm here by my very lonesome in terms of not having a tech person here. So I apologize for the disruption. Tina, I don't know if you have anything you want to say about the KPI. Okay, so Sarah, thank you for jumping in on the KPI. A couple of things I'll say before my special guests. Is that, obviously our goal here with innovating on our menu is not to create clutter, right, in our inventory. So it is beautifully sunny, although it is frigid still here in Ohio. We are starting to think about spring cleaning plans. So if you have the opportunity to really look at that inventory, the guidance that Sarah talked about is not only going to help you discern the financial health of your program moving forward as you kind of think about how much of your commodities you have left, some of the stuff Sarah said at the beginning. So kind of weaving the thought process throughout the entire conversation today, it's important for us to really kind of end with the beginning in mind. And so when we say that, we end the year usually in April and May with a common inventory that we begin our school year in August, September, if we're not a summer feeding program. So most of you that we support take a break in the summer, but what you want to do is relax, right? So you want to be able to begin thinking about being proactive in your approach to inventory use as well as training. So there's a couple of things I know that will be coming forth. You got to see and meet Nicole Patton from GFS, wonderful addition to the team. GFS will also have some updates coming soon relative to the GFS inventory management program. If you have not used that inventory management program before, now's your time. If you have some space in your schedule to get trained on the new process as that opens up, it is a really wonderfully helpful and free favorite word, free. I almost feel like I'm deals and steals. It's a free system. The favorite word is that it's not going to cost you anything. It's going to cost you some time and attention, but some of the cost savings that we'll do on the first in, first out rotation, really showing a very nice graphic way to describe your inventory. So in the event of, unfortunately, over the summer, we've had many schools that have long-term power outages, and they get to come back and clean out, messy, sloppy, thawed, half-thawed, refrozen fruit because they had an outage. So we want to make sure spring cleaning is happening, and we're looking at the pieces we can do to be proactive to end with the beginning in mind. So at the beginning of today, I obviously said it's National Nutrition Month. We're flying through these slides, but I want to have a good conversation today about you joining us and what it means to be a part of the Pasonic team and the village it takes to really do the inspirational work we do. We can't do it unless we are understanding the why behind what we do. So, we talked a little bit about legislation. We don't always agree with everything. Everybody doesn't want to pay their taxes, but you have to file out your income tax, right? We're coming up on that date here soon. The idea with the federal laws and regulations are not to oppose them, but to really get in front of them in a proactive way. So we like to say we've already, if it's business as usual and you're using whole foods and you're thinking about the why behind nutrition, it really becomes more intuitive and also, I dare say, inspirational work than it is having to do something you don't feel you want to do in terms of looking at sugar and sodium and fat and things. Diets can be, they don't have to be diets. They don't have to be restrictive. They need to be innovated and they need to be thought of with a fresh lens. And so when we end with the beginning in mind, although we have a longer runway, and again, don't panic, call Pasonic, fun little statement we use, we will help you with the nutritional analysis. If it becomes 10% calories from sugar, don't worry, we've got you. One of the things I like to say is if you practice what you preach, it's easier to lead the teams you have in your cafeteria spaces, or if you're on that front line, you are your best communicator to the students as they come through the line. And so one of my favorite things to do with adding whole fruits and vegetables is obviously a reduction in sugar and sodium because you're adding more fresh produce. So using and leveraging things like your DoD funds, your local purchasing bid. We did an entire analysis we shared out at the beginning of this season where the local bid through OSC actually has more economical, healthy in-season harvest items for you. So help us help you bring that message forward in your menu. Think proactively and not reactively, and really start making some strides. And so I can tell you before the pandemic, Pasonic Partners, for those of you who were able to do, had in-person culinary training. So again, I'm at this kitchen. I'm excited that this is going to be happening here. But before this even was a thought, I worked and partnered with 24 Karrot Kitchen in Brecksville. And Kath Madden, who is the owner, founder, and friend to all in that community, brought the concept that food can be wholesome, it can be tasty, it can serve a purpose for your health. And so I know that being in National Nutrition Month, it was just natural for me to think about a special guest that would help us think through some of these the why behind what we do. We don't want children to suffer from obesity and have early onset type 2 diabetes or heart issues at a young age. And so we say making the cafeteria an extension of the classroom in a lot of the work we do. Our motto is wholesome meals to fuel healthy lives. And so prior to the pandemic, we had immersive culinary training, and it's coming back. Don't you worry. We are working on locations to bring that back to you, obviously. But one of the things I want to say is it makes more sense if it makes sense to you personally. And so one of the things that I hope to achieve for you today is to meet somebody fabulous who has helped many, many people in our Northeast Ohio kind of get to the root cause of feeling better through food. Not medicine, not exercise, not programs that are very specific other than just common sense cooking tips, whole food utilization to reduce things like sugar and sodium and other inflammatory agents in their specific needs through the love of her kitchen and the work she does. So I know this isn't the best, but we're here. Here she is.
Hi.
And we are here today at CASE. So thank you for coming with me.
Well, thank you. This is my favorite topic.
So when we got together, I said, Kath, what can we talk about that would help us to help others think about the why behind some of the nutrition standards that are coming up, National Nutrition Month, their own personal health, their mission statement, if they're thinking about creating goals for increasing produce or whatever the case may be. So I challenged her with a bunch of questions, and we're going to try to make this kind of informal. But tell me a little bit of, first of all, I introduced you as the owner and founder of 24 Karrot Kitchen, but tell us please a little bit about your background and what you, how you came into this field of nutrition.
So I've always had a big love of food, whole food, and I went back in a later part of my life to get my master's in nutrition. And so what I do, I basically call culinary medicine. So I help those with chronic disease that they're fighting and struggling with to live better quality lives and sort of take control of their own health and learn how to either cook themselves or enjoy foods that they would like to eat with extra special, healthy and nutritious ingredients so that they can get better and their cells are much happier and they feel much better. And so that's always been my goal, is to try to take my own personal health journeys and help other people. And so I'm a little unique in that I'm a chef and I have my nutrition background. And so I meld those two things together and try to teach and share and heal as much as I can.
I love it. I love it. So if you've heard the comment, we say wholesome meals, fueling healthy lives, but many of you have also heard, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, right? So we think about ways that food interacts with our own personal health. And then we think about making the cafeteria an extension of the classroom. When we think of things about enticing kids to want to eat things that are lower sugar, I know many of you are like, my breakfast program. So one of the things we're thinking about is we always encourage, whole fresh fruits as opposed to juice. Obviously lower reduced sugar, whole grain food items. And we are praying and working with our manufacturers to help them vet the new standards along with us. It takes a village, but I posed this question to Kath and said, what do we do with this low sugar? Tell me a little bit about sugar in general in terms of how people use it for health or don't. And then when you are helping somebody, perhaps say they've been diagnosed and they need to be on a reduced or controlled sugar diet, tell us some tips that you use in your own practice of providing food and teaching food lessons in that kind of lower sugar environment.
So it is really hard. Sugar is addictive. And so we want to make things that are appealing that people are going to want to eat and not think that they're eating, a piece of dirt. Healthy food tends to have this piece attached to it that everybody thinks that it's always going to taste bad. So first and foremost, spices. Adding cinnamon and nutmeg and cardamom, or even when you're making savory dishes, adding spices to things really enhances the flavor of the food. And that's what people are looking for. They want flavor. So making just general oatmeal can make a big difference by adding some of those things to it, but also protein. So people that have the struggle with sugar, I always tell them it's necessary for them. If you're going to have an apple, have it with some almond butter. Or if you want to have oatmeal, throw an egg in it to try to balance that glucose rush. So that's what I try to do for them, is if we're going to make them some type of a bread product, we'll use nuts and grains and seeds, and they get their protein from that, and it's packed with flavor, and they actually get to enjoy what they're having. So that's sort of the approach that we take, and we always use maple syrup and honey, coconut sugars, things that are natural, that their body is, knows what to do with, and no refined processed sugars. And they're not as sweet. So that tends to take back that craving that everybody's looking for. So it takes time to switch people over, but I try to do baby steps and provide goodies for them and treats that they can have, and not go, cold turkey on them. But, most people know, using applesauce, using pumpkin, using banana can all be replaced as sweeteners as opposed to using sugar, and it creates moisture. They get extra nutrients. You're using the rainbow. I mean, there's just a, plethora of things that you can do. And we've had really good success with that.
Yeah, I love that idea because, when sodium came out, everyone had a momentary panic that, folks are just so used to having high sodium foods, right? But then when we coach on our bars, our Smarter Lunchroom bars, we say, if it's a pasta bar day, I love to walk in and smell a burst of garlic,
Absolutely.
oregano, basil, all of those ingredients that are so flavorful, both from all the senses, like you could see us, some fresh, herbs sometimes people have in their kitchens, and it just like, I like put it out there on the counter
I
like
know,
it's
you
a
can
flower.
smell when you
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
you smell when you walk back.
Yeah, and then you have the garlic, and you have things that add so much intensity of flavor without sodium. So, I think some of those suggestions you just gave, we all get those bananas, and it's almost like Goldilocks, they're either too green or they're too brown, and they're just that one window of day where they're that right color where kids will take them. So, I think that's a perfect suggestion. I have done that personally in our own home for smoothies, like my kids tend to like the bananas that are, like almost green. And as soon as they get like one little dark fleck, they don't want them. So we ourselves at home will peel them and put them in freezer bags and utilize them for our smoothies. So I think I welcome us today to start thinking about some of the ways that we, to me, that already hits a lot of buttons. So the message for National Nutrition Month was a sustainability focus as well. So we often in our kitchens are doing upcycling, or we're looking at things that we tend to get in the kitchen in bulk and might not use all of. So like a banana is a great example of that. We want to encourage fresh consumption of fruits and vegetables. You get a batch, it's bad. We also say kids can be picky, right? So you get the apple and it has a little blemish on it. And if you're going to cut, there are so many things you can do with overripened or fruits that are maybe like a second that, have a little bruise. I think of peaches in season in August in our area, like if it gets bruised, they're not going to eat it as a whole fruit, but there's so many recipes.
Salsas that you can make with fruit. I think of mangoes and peaches. We use our apples, we'll make our own applesauce. And when you blend them up in the Vitamix, you don't need to put anything else in them. They taste good. Or bake them in the oven and scoop them out with some cinnamon on them. So those blemishes all tend to go away, and you don't notice as much because the apple is soft when you cook it. So yeah, there's a ton of things that you can do to reuse, repurpose. It's my thing in my kitchen is I hate food waste. So we always try to get creative when we're baking something. And if we don't have, I don't have tomatoes, maybe I use pumpkin. I mean, you can switch out and play around with things and have some fun with it.
Yeah, and she makes the best soup. So if anything else, we're going to drop information about Kat's online order food and resources that she does in the Northeast Ohio community. But she does some wonderful upcycling with soups. And some of my favorites are like her lasagna soup, which is amazing and delicious. Just because you give me one cuisine the rest of my life, it's going to be Italian food. I can eat that every day. But there are certainly things like your squash soups and your other soups that you have infused with pumpkin and apple, and I'm sure that was recycling, reusing items that you had perhaps in a different format on your menu.
And I mean the lasagna soup started literally with making lasagna as a meal and having all these extra noodles left over, and I can't, being Italian, that's never going to throw any of that stuff away, and you always have extra sauce, and I thought, well, why can't we take this concept? It's just like our bowls. We do the same thing. Instead of everything having to have simple carbs attached to it, you take some of that away and you put that same concept into a bowl, and they don't miss it with the sauces and the vegetables and the meats and whatever's in there. You don't necessarily have to have a burrito wrap or a taco shell, or they can get more vegetables in there and still enjoy the food that they're having.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know for a fact that we are all looking at our produce bars. So we have some things that come in raw. We put them out raw, and we've given you some ideas. One of the things that you just said that resonated with me is we often just talk about cooking technique. So you said sometimes you roast instead before you do something. Talk a little bit about the benefits of roasting things for flavor enhancement so that you use and need less sugar and sodium, because there's a process called caramelization, right? Is that right? So talk to us a little bit about cooking process in general.
So one of the things I get a big kick out of, and I'm kind of a food nerdy, but when you cut into a butternut squash or you cut into a purple sweet potato, it almost looks like it's bleeding sugar. I mean, you see these bubbles crystallize. Well, when you cut that fruit up or a vegetable and you put it in the oven, you roast it, it does the same thing. There's juices all in the bottom of the pan that's basically almost like a caramel, like a sugar. And so when we make butternut squash soup or sweet potatoes or any of that. We used to make sweet potato bowls, and everybody would say to me, why are your potatoes so good? Well, one, they're organic and they come from a farm, but besides that, when you cook a sweet potato to the point where the sugar starts to come out when it's cooking, it's almost like having sweet potato pie, and there's nothing else in it. You know, it's just the vegetable. And so how can you not love that? So I let, you know, sort of nature and, you know, the science behind what happens help me make things taste better. And by the way, it's so much faster because you can roast, you know, half of a butternut squash in the oven, scoop it and make a soup out of it, as opposed to cutting it, peeling it, chopping it all up, putting it in, boiling it. I mean, it's just so much more efficient, and you get that flavor hike too. So, you know, I do a little bit, some to save time and some of it too, you know, because it just tastes so good.
Yeah. So you're improving taste, you're reducing waste, and you're improving efficiency. So I think we all need to get back into these out of the box cooking, because, you know, it is really just putting this into practice so that it just becomes routine. So when you're looking at your inventory, we just talked about, you know, making sure you're doing that process and you're leveraging what you have. It's not adding time, it's actually saving you money, enhancing your flavor, all of the things we just talked about. So Pasonic does continue to do out of the box trainings. We have been doing them on site. So if you are a school that has PD and you're sick of looking at screens and people talking to you, think about that. Think about the actual practice of just doing some basic knife skills, some basic roasting, cooking, caramelizing. Today, I'm excited we have a little demo for you. I wished it was on the big screen, but we're going to make it work. We're going to do our best. So, you know, one of the things that we have had in some of the school programs is the ability to get higher power blenders like a Vitamix blender. So we have one here today, and the simple ingredients and the simple process, we're going to just demonstrate something that actually is more on the line of special diet needs too. So I'll let you give all the details, but also upcycling and making things with flavor that are number one, you know, it's not nutrition unless they eat it. So they're kid friendly. So who doesn't love a good queso? So without further ado, let's see some queso.
So Maureen challenged me and said, you know, we want to talk about how we can make something fun that takes out some of the processed food. So when I think of kids and some of the things that they enjoy, queso comes to mind, and you can use it for putting on tacos when it's made. You can use it for dipping. There's just so many things that you can do with it, and into bowls, over vegetables. So I'm making a nut-free vegetable queso today, and I know, don't roll your eyes. It's really delicious. And the nice thing about it, and one of the ways that how this came out is because we reuse a lot of stuff, and we're constantly making roasted potatoes or mashed potatoes in the kitchen and always having things left over. So, and queso is orange, and so we're using carrots to create that color. And so it's super simple, and I'm just gonna pull ingredients over. One of the ones I wanna talk about before we put it in is nutritional yeast. This is basically a plant-based recipe to start with, and people who are vegan and vegetarian use nutritional yeast. They call it Nooch for short. So if you want to be cool to your friends, you can tell them you talked about Nooch today. And nutritional yeast is an inactive form of yeast, and the way that they process it, they take the most nutrients out of it, so it has a really great nutrient profile, and it's an excellent source of protein. So I'm going to throw this nutritional yeast in here. And then we're going to use a ton of spices, because again, we talked about flavor enhancements. So we have cumin, we have chili powder, we have onion powder, garlic powder, and I also brought some smoked paprika. You could put chilies in there if you wanted to make it warm, or a chipotle powder. You can kind of play with it however you want to, but we're just going to do basics today. So and the recipe calls for a teaspoon of each one of these. Maybe I won't get so precise. That's why I like to make soup, because it's not science like baking, and you can really play around with it. So we're going to put a teaspoon of each one of these flavors in here, which is super easy. And then we're going to add a little bit of oil. I'm using avocado oil, so a little bit of healthy fats in there. And it's also going to make it nice and creamy. And lemon juice is a great acid with nutritional yeast and the spices. It tends to make things almost taste cheesy. So we're going to put, I think I'm just going to put a teaspoon in to start with. And you always want to taste things as you work. You never want to serve it right out of the container. You always want to taste it. And then I brought today, we love to roast garlic. You know, we were talking about roasting vegetables. When you roast garlic, it also caramelizes it. You could take this and spread it right on a piece of bread. I'm sure Maureen is very used to enjoying, but it just pops right out. The cloves pop right out of the head. And we're going to make this nice and garlicky today. We put a little bit of garlic powder in, but I love using fresh garlic or roasted garlic. And this is just cut some olive oil, wrapped in some parchment and aluminum foil, and put in the oven for 350 for about 45 minutes. And you can do 6-8 heads at a time, so that when you're making sauce or you want to spread it on bread, you always have it available. And then we're going to use, this is 2 cups of coconut milk, but you can use chicken broth, you can use veggie broth, whatever you have. And I'm not going to put it all in there because we're going to work on texture. And then I have roasted, boiled russet potatoes, and it calls for about 1.5 cups. So we're just going to wing that. And this is what's going to give it that nice creamy texture. And then a cup of carrots. And I don't peel my carrots, they're organic. It's all going to get blended, and all the nutrients are usually in the skin. So we want to keep those nutrients. So I'm going to throw this on the Vitamix. This will be a little noisy here for a second. Add a little more liquid to it, maybe.
It smells, if you guys could smell this in here, I wish I had smell-o-vision for you right now. The garlic is intense. So part of what we just said about the cooking process and the caramelization, that is, I mean, you can smell it all the way over there. Tina's like, oh, all the way down there, and she can smell it. It's delicious.
And I just added a little bit of salt at the end. Salt, you know, a touch of salt enhances food and brings it out. And you can always adjust. So we always adjust the fats, the salts, the sugars, and the acids. So as you can see, it looks like queso. I'm going to have Maureen take a carrot stick. We're going to give this a try.
All right. Oh yeah, look at it. Hangs on there. Oh, I just got it on the computer. That's really good.
Could use a little bit of heat.
I like this. And you know, you just brought up something about the heat. So the flavor profile, perhaps for the elementary, this is perfect. You know, like a garlic. It doesn't really taste like potatoes or carrots. It tastes like cheese, and it's the wildest flavor, but it would be a fun cheese dip. You know, when you're encouraging kids to take those fresh produce off your produce bar, that's a really good flavor.
Yeah, because you just tell them it's queso. You know, you don't have to get into what's in the queso. And it's nut-free, which is awesome because we have so many allergies in school. If you wanted to make it with chicken broth, it would enhance it a little bit, add a little bit more protein to it, but the nutritional yeast will do that. And with this, I mean, the nice thing is you can chop onions, you can put cilantro on top of it, you can add the chilies to it. So there are all these varieties that you can do with it, and it really is a beautiful texture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so that's my.
So we are so excited. I love. So simply put, you know, this could be spiced up with some of that hot chipotle seasoning, and you could even use it. We talk about our loaded tachos and the different variations of our Tex-Mex bars. You could use this as a dippable in a bistro kit with some of the whole grain pretzels we have. You know, just the sky's the limit. If you're having trouble getting kids to like the steamed, which we really don't, but if you also do like a broccoli, this would be like a good, or something like, exactly. So lots of fun ways to use this, and specifically even at home. I call this sometimes stealth health. Like people think they're getting something ooey gooey and not so good for them, but it is super, super good. So we appreciate that. We have an intern with us, and we are going to be working on a recipe, thanks to Kath, for you. As long as it's good with you, we're going to share this out for people to try it in your own homes. And maybe even as we think about spring menus and spring ideas, we think about try days. So this would be something really fun, like a did you know try day, that you can do this, number one, and number two, you know, what do you think is in this kind of conversation with
sure,
kids?
yeah, that would be fun to get them to guess. And you can see we used a cup and a half of potatoes and 1 cup of carrots and some liquid and spices, and look how much it produced. And so in the schools, you know, they have extras of things, and you could even get fancy and try to put other things in it, other vegetables in it. You could try to make it with squash. You know, it doesn't necessarily, the flavors aren't that strong because the vegetables are boiled, but it doesn't matter if they're roasted, then it's just going to make it a little bit sweeter.
Yeah. And so most of these are in your pantries, the spices. I know people are going to say, oh, that's expensive for avocado oil. You can use olive oil. You can do different healthy source of oil. The whole garlic cloves, if you're not doing that, there's garlic powder. But certainly, I think this is an easy breezy upcycling idea of a great recipe. So we are going to share out Kath's tips. Also in the chat, you'll find information about more of what Kath is doing in Northeast Ohio in terms of helping sign up for food that she makes and prepares that you can have and try at home. Soup Queen, I'll tell you that, the Soup Diva. And if you ever need to feel better and you're sick, and you know, in this spring weather, everybody's kind of getting something going on, the idea of having some stocks in your house and making some things simple for yourself. We again are talking about National Nutrition Month, and we can't be good to others if we're not good to ourselves. So thank you so much for having time here. So we have a couple more slides to wrap up. We have about 5 more minutes. So the fuel for the future is not only, again, what we talked about, some of this upcycled use of produce items to make foods pop in your kitchen, flavors pop, but also the sustainability focus, eat in a way to protect the earth. So we talk about not throwing out and wasting. This is a perfect recipe, both in your home, when you're cleaning out your own kitchen, as well as in your school cafeteria. So please take a moment to celebrate yourself. Child nutrition is often the underdog of the nutrition world, but we really want to just thank you from the bottom of our hearts. The cafeteria is an extension of the classroom. Celebrate yourself, your staff, and the important work we do. You know, I often say kids will probably forget the math formula and trigonometry that they memorized to dump out on a test, but they're not going to forget how to feed themselves and feed their kids and their families if they have the opportunity to do that. So we are modeling good nutrition, one with what we do every day. I would be remiss if I didn't take this time to thank the RDs on my team. We always say everybody's an honorary RD. I did happen to come to this beautiful institution and spend some extra time to really get the credential, but those of you who have a diet tech, a diet manager, any type of culinary degree, we really want to take the time to honor the work you do this National Nutrition Month. And thank you to my partners on our team, Marge Robeson and Sarah Carlson, for rounding out the trio that we are to bring you some good information and hopefully help you with compliance and, you know, as behind the curtains with the nutritional analysis, you name it. So happy RD days to my friends. Additional resources we have here today for you. Again, I talk about it takes a village. And so Kath was one part of my village at 24 Karrot Kitchen. If you were with us when we were out at the International Culinary School, the Paganini School out in Chesterland, this particular gentleman, Chef Tim McCoy, you've met there or at our back to school boot camps, because he is truly a partner who really cares about foundational teaching in terms of making nutrition work for all, making it accessible, making skills easy to kind of learn. So again, as we think about those out of the box trainings and what we want to help empower you and your staff, this might be a fun thing. I mean, I don't know what you all are doing on Friday because it is St. Patrick's Day. There is dispensation, so if you're not eating meat, you know, the Pope says go ahead and have that corned beef. But if you are being a good person and you're not in a way maybe a little under the weather on Saturday, Mr. Chef Tim McCoy is going to be having a really nice session at noon there, and he's doing a luncheon. So I always love to go when there's food involved with him teaching, because you will never go away hungry. So that is a wonderful, wonderful you know, resource to know in our community. A couple of reminders, if you are thinking about springing into school gardens, if you are thinking about, hey, I know harvest season kind of starts early. I know it's been a little cold, but we do get some really good spring crops in our region that are available through our local farm to school bid. I also wanted to remind you on the website for Feed Our Future, there is actually a map. So this map indicates partners as well as resources that will help you find folks local to you that are either doing it, so you can steal their idea, a benchmark, maybe go take a visit for a spring field trip with your staff to a school that's really engaging in farm to school practices, or certainly has a program that they'd be willing to share with you. So don't forget about our Feed Our Future map. Take a look at that. It's a great resource. The next map is another one. Very similar in concept. The Ohio State Extension has put together a knowledge exchange. So they are also growing a statewide resource that shows in other areas of the state what farm to school programs are. And so many of you follow and know Marge, I was going to say Marge Robeson, and she just put something in the system. Thank you, Marge, for always putting in the chat. Jessica Shelley down in Cincinnati, their region does a ton. So, you know, we love to share Northeast Ohio resources. We love to share all of Ohio resources. This is a knowledge exchange that will help you tap into some of the other areas of the state as well. Last but not least, we were a part of the American Dairy Association's smoothie analysis. They are giving away free smoothie kits, and the resources have not only wayfinding, but they have recipes. They have ways to help you bolster using, recycling, using some of that stuff that you don't want to throw away. We just talked about smoothies, but also really fun ways to engage in maybe some menu changes for breakfast and playing a little bit with the idea of offering alternative, higher protein, diversified breakfast options. I will tell you the breakfast programs that did this for National Breakfast Week, I really applauded some of the efforts they did with their decorations and tri-days, but we really want this to be something that you feel can be a sustainable part of your program. This resource will help you get there. And last but not least, us, we are here for you. We want to hold you up. We will be your safety net. We hope that you become adventurous in your kitchen, both personally and professionally. And one of the ways we are trying to make it easier now more than ever for you is if you're sick of technical and your computer and things that don't work, this is a book. It's a physical book. We have actually put together a book that is now in print. And so if you would like a copy of the Pasonic recipes that you have seen us talk about on these What's Up Wednesdays in our trainings, as well as in our virtual resources, this is an easy way for you to perhaps invest in a small strategy to gift to your staff, to your community, to really think about the pillars of harvest of the month. Simply fresh. It doesn't have to be hard to taste good. Obviously, we love the idea of keeping our menus culturally relevant and have global, on-trend, diverse recipes. And last but not least, comfort classics. So these ideas of a queso that can be nutrient dense and still be something that's a fan favorite and a flavorful one at that. So check out our cookbook. We are so excited that you are joining us today. We're at our hour. If there aren't any questions, I'm going to sign out here and finish up our work here at this kitchen that needs a lot of love before it opens. And we hope to be here again to show you some of the wonderful trainings that are going to be offering to the community at large here in Cleveland. If you don't know, Case Western Reserve is located in Cleveland, University Circle area, and it will be a great space. So we appreciate your time today. As always, we are here for you. We thank you. Have a great rest of your month. Take care.